Throughout history, countless people have vanished without leaving a single trace behind. These are not tales of fantasy or fiction. These are real cases of ordinary men, women, and even entire families who stepped into their daily lives and then were never seen again. Some disappearances have logical explanations. Maybe they were victims of accidents or crimes that were simply never solved. But then there are the stories that defy logic entirely, where no matter how hard investigators searched, no clear answers ever emerged. What makes these vanishings so chilling is not just the lack of evidence, but the questions they leave behind. Where did they go? What really happened in their final moments? Were they victims of foul play, accidents, or something far stranger? Today, we will explore 5 of the most haunting unsolved disappearances of all time. Each one leaves us with mystery, speculation, and the uneasy truth that sometimes people can vanish right before our eyes. Case 1. The Vanishing of Flight MH370. In early March of the year 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370 departed from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The plane, a Boeing 777, was bound for Beijing, China, carrying 239 passengers and crew. Within less than an hour of flight, communication with the aircraft was lost. At first, air traffic control believed it was a technical error, but military radar later revealed something more unsettling. The plane had made a sudden and deliberate turn, crossing back over the Malay Peninsula and heading out into the vast Indian Ocean. This was not a random course. Someone had altered its path. The search that followed was one of the most extensive in aviation history. Dozens of nations contributed ships, planes, and satellites to scan thousands of miles of open sea. For weeks, families waited for answers, clinging to hope. But no wreckage surfaced. Months later, fragments of a wing and pieces of the interior cabin washed up on distant shores, including the island of Reunion. Still, the main body of the plane, its black box recorders, and the remains of its passengers have never been recovered. Theories range from catastrophic mechanical failure to pilot suicide to deliberate hijacking and even government cover-ups. Yet with no definitive proof, the truth remains locked beneath the waves. The disappearance of Flight MH370 remains one of the greatest mysteries of modern aviation. How could a massive airliner, equipped with advanced tracking systems, vanish in an era where almost nothing escaped surveillance? Nearly a decade later, families continue to wait for answers, and the world is left with only speculation. Case 2. The Disappearance of Amelia Earhart. Amelia Earhart was a legend of her time, celebrated as the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. Her courage and determination made her a global icon. In the summer of 1937, she attempted her most ambitious journey yet, to fly around the entire world. With her navigator Fred Noonan by her side, Earhart departed Miami, Florida, in June. Over several weeks, they crossed continents and oceans, covering nearly 22,000 miles of their planned 29,000-mile route. By early July, they had only one last challenge remaining: a dangerous stretch across the Pacific Ocean to reach Howland Island, a tiny piece of land barely 2 miles long. On July 2nd, they took off from Lae, New Guinea, in their twin-engine Lockheed Electra. For hours, radio operators heard transmissions from Earhart. She reported poor visibility, trouble locating the island, and fuel running low. Her last known words were chilling: "We must be on you, but we cannot see you." Then silence. Despite an enormous search effort by the United States Navy, no trace of the plane, Earhart, or Noonan was ever found. Theories quickly spread. Some believe the aircraft ran out of fuel and plunged into the ocean. Others suggest they landed on Nikumaroro, an isolated island, surviving as castaways for some time before perishing. Conspiracy theorists claim Earhart was captured by Japanese forces on suspicion of espionage. More than 8 decades later, her fate remains unknown. Amelia Earhart's disappearance is not just an aviation mystery, but a haunting reminder of how even history's bravest pioneers can vanish, leaving the world with questions that may never be answered. Case 3. The Sodder Children Mystery. On Christmas Eve of 1945, the Sodder family home in Fayetteville, West Virginia, was filled with the joy of the season. George and Jenny Sodder lived there with their 10 children. That night, 5 of the children went to bed upstairs. while the rest of the family stayed awake, enjoying the holiday spirit. But just after midnight, disaster struck. A fire broke out, rapidly consuming the two-story wooden home. George and Jenny, along with 4 of their children, managed to escape. The other 5, Maurice, age 14, Martha, age 12, Louis, age 9, Jenny, age 8, and Betty, age 5, were trapped inside. George tried desperately to reach them, but flames blocked every path. By morning, the house was reduced to ash, yet investigators found no remains of the 5 missing children. Officials claimed the fire was hot enough to cremate them, but experts later argued the blaze could not have destroyed human bones completely. The case grew stranger. The family phone line had been cut. Their ladder, which George needed for the rescue, was missing. Witnesses later claimed to have seen the children alive, driven away in a strange vehicle. Years after the tragedy, the Sodders even received a photograph in the mail, allegedly showing one of their missing sons as an adult. The Sodders never accepted the official explanation. They erected a billboard on a nearby highway, displaying their children's faces and pleading for answers. Despite decades of searching, no evidence ever confirmed what truly happened that night. Were the children killed in the fire, or were they abducted under its cover? To this day, the mystery remains unsolved. One of the most haunting family tragedies in American history. Case 4. The disappearance of the Beaumont children. In January of 1966, the Australian city of Adelaide was shaken by a tragedy that would haunt the nation for generations. On a bright summer morning, siblings Jane, age 9, Arna, age 7, and Grant, age 4, set out for a day at Glenelg Beach. They had made the short bus trip before, and their mother expected them home by the early afternoon. Witnesses saw the children playing in the sand, laughing and enjoying the water. Others recalled them in the company of a tall, thin man with blonde hair. Hours passed, and the children never returned. Their worried mother reported them missing, sparking one of the largest search operations in Australian history. Despite extensive searches of the beach, nearby neighborhoods, and surrounding areas, no trace of the children was ever found. Leads poured in by the hundreds, but each one ended in disappointment. Over the years, multiple suspects were investigated, including known criminals and child predators, but none were ever charged. The case changed Australia forever. Parents who once allowed children to roam freely now kept them close. The disappearance became a turning point, a symbol of lost innocence for an entire generation. Even decades later, theories still circulate. Were the children abducted by a stranger? Were they victims of a hidden crime ring? Some believe they were buried in a secret location, their remains never uncovered. Yet with each passing year, the mystery only deepens. The Beaumont children remain missing, their story etched into Australia's national memory as a warning of how quickly safety can shatter and how some questions may never receive answers. Case 5. The Vanishing Village of Anjikuni. In November of 1930, Canadian fur trapper Joe LaBelle arrived at the remote Inuit village of Anjikuni, located near the shores of Lake Anjikuni in the northern wilderness. What he found there has become one of the most baffling disappearances in history. The village, home to over 30 men, women, and children, was completely deserted. Fires still smoldered in fireplaces. Meals sat half-prepared as if abandoned in the middle of cooking, and supplies remained untouched. But not a single villager could be found. Even more disturbingly, LaBelle discovered the sled dogs, vital for survival in the harsh climate, lying dead, starved and frozen in the snow. When authorities investigated, they were left puzzled. There were no signs of a struggle, no footprints leading away from the settlement, and no evidence to suggest where the villagers had gone. It was as if they had stepped out of existence. Explanations have ranged from natural migration to supernatural intervention. Some argue the community may have relocated suddenly due to harsh weather or dwindling resources, though such a move would normally leave traces. Others suggest an epidemic or mass poisoning, but no evidence supports this. More mysterious theories claim alien abduction or spiritual forces tied to the land. The truth has never been uncovered. Whether the villagers left willingly, were taken, or fell victim to some unknown disaster, the fact remains: an entire community vanished without a trace. To this day, the story of the Anjikuni village continues to send chills through anyone who hears it. A reminder that some mysteries are larger than any explanation we can give. Planes vanish, children disappear, Even whole villages fade into silence. Some mysteries may never be solved, but they live on in our questions. What do you think happened? Share your theories below, and don't forget to subscribe for more chilling true stories.